Half a day, the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture is now called to order. Today is Friday, October 8, 2021. The time is 8:02 a.m. Notices for this confirmation hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on Friday, October 1st, and again on Wednesday, October 6, 2021. The notice was also published in the Guam Daily Post on Friday, October 1st, and again on Wednesday, October 6, 2021. This hybrid hearing is hosted by the legislature's AV staff and committee staff, and I thank them for their assistance. The host will mute all Zoom participants until called upon by the chair. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chair before speaking and begin by stating their name for record-keeping purposes. For those on the Zoom, please ensure that you are unmuted when called to speak. So we have one agenda item this morning, and that is the appointment of Lina NB McDaniel to serve as a member of the Guam Parole Board for a term length of 4 years from May 26, 2021 to May 25, 2025. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Terlaje with us this morning. Thank you, Senator. I'd also like to thank the nominee, of course, for being here for this confirmation hearing and for accommodating us this early in the day, and so that we can have a full day's worth of items to hear. All right, before we hear from those here to testify, I'd like to read just a small portion of the current statute regarding the general powers of the Guam Parole Board. This is from section 85.26 of Title IX Guam Code Annotated, which says the board is authorized to release on parole any person confined in any penal or correctional institution of Guam, and to revoke parole or discharge from parole any parolee as provided in Article 5. The board shall adopt rules and procedures not inconsistent with law as it may deem proper or necessary to carry out its duties, and in accordance with the open government law, except as herein provided. The rules and procedures shall include, but not be limited to, rights and restrictions of an inmate during a parole application or revocation hearing, the presence of legal counsel on behalf of inmate during a hearing, the right of an inmate to receive in writing a specific reason or reasons for denial of parole, the rules for recusal of a member of the board due to a conflict. Nothing herein shall prevent the board from interviewing victims in private. Nothing shall prevent the board from excluding any persons that they determine may unduly influence a victim's testimony. The board may conduct deliberations in closed meetings and may vote by secret ballot on matters relative to release on, revocation of, or discharge from parole, notwithstanding the provisions of the open government law. These are big powers of the board that we are counting on them to ensure as part of our legal justice system. And we need all parts of our justice system to be, working full force in order for it to work properly. The parole board is supposed to consist of 5 members. It currently has 3 members: Chairman Steve Guerrero, Ms. June Borja, and Mr. John Lizama, who was recently confirmed. Ms. McDaniel is a returning board member whose previous term expired in May of this year. So if reappointed, this will be her 2nd term on the board. I want to thank you, Ms. McDaniel, for accepting the reappointment to continue to serve on the Guam Parole Board. So we will hear now from those who signed up to testify before we hear from the nominee herself. We'll begin with, if I don't see him, but is Officer Mike Kanata here? If not, then the chairperson, Stephen Guerrero from the Guam Parole Board. Would you like to give testimony, Mr. Guerrero? All right, we'll hear from Ms. Jackie Servino. Ms. Servino, would you like to present testimony? You may proceed. Just unmute and proceed.
I actually did not submit my testimony and did not register for that. I'm just here just to witness.
Oh, okay, thank you. Mr. Guerrero, would you like to submit testimony this morning? All right. We will then try to contact Mr. Guerrero. I think we're having a technical difficulty. However, Ms. McDaniel, if you would like to please introduce yourself and you can provide testimony for the record.
Thank you, Senator. I guess this is a little foreign for most people, so that's why they were unprepared. I do know that some of my family and colleagues, friends have submitted some written testimony on my behalf for my appointment. So I'll go ahead and read my testimony this morning. Hafa and good morning, Chairwoman Terlaje and members of the committee. I am honored and privileged to be before this confirmation hearing to once again offer my public service as a member of the Guam Parole Board. My name is Lina NB McDaniel. My mother is Antonita Lujan Bamba, familiar and complete from Barragata, and Bamba from Magana Heights. I was given the opportunity to serve on the Guam Parole Board in May 2017 until May 2021. Today, I'm here to once again testify as to why I would like to continue to serve on the board. Per the GCA, only persons who by their knowledge and experience are prepared to perform efficiently the duties of the board as hereinafter provided shall be eligible to such appointment. I have the knowledge and experience that has allowed me to perform these duties as a board member. For committee members who are unfamiliar with my background, while I was completing my bachelor's degree in criminal justice administration, I was appointed to work with the federal defender where I was able to take my education and assist our client for the best outcome considering the indictment. I graduated with my Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice Administration in 2006, then a master's in adult education with a specialization in adult education and training in 2012. A highlight of my master's degree was learning complexities of adult learning and the importance of teaching the lifelong learning idea to adults with several risk factors. For example, high school diploma or equivalency, lacking of it, criminal history, single parent households or teenage parents, etc. As I shared 4 years ago, my research project was centered on improving the employability of a community I modeled after the island of Guam. Even before the pandemic, my purpose was to help build up our community by seeking partnerships and opportunities with community stakeholders who have firsthand knowledge of obstacles our people experience. Those partnerships were established when I was an active member of the Guam Homeless Coalition, a special projects coordinator with Guam Department of Labor, and working with the employers and businesses who wanted to improve the lives of our community too, not just our returning citizens. As vice chair of the GHC in 2018, I worked with the membership, both private and public, to create opportunities and solutions for employability and self-sufficiency. At the Department of Labor, I work closely with Guam Trades Academy and employers during the Earn and Learn Construction Academy to consider interviewing participants with criminal histories and should they be an ideal candidate for employment to extend an offer. These are just a few highlights that reflect my continuous efforts to improve the lives of our community, because if we are able to help even one person, it creates a ripple effect in lives. It hasn't always been easy, but I stand in my convictions that change needs to occur, even if it's a small change. Over the past 4 years, and in my professional capacity, I have witnessed and experienced pitfalls in getting caught up in the details rather than assessing the situation as a whole. Our parolees, the returning citizens, have more challenges and obstacles than a regular citizen. But if there is a heartfelt desire to become a contributing member of society, it can be done. Sometimes it takes many times of falling down, basically not following parole conditions and incarceration before there is true commitment to change rather than bloviating to the board. As board members, we understand in order to have positive outcomes for each parolee presented to the board, we must bring our empathy, but also a hefty dose of critical thinking to ascertain if granting a parolee parole is the best decision for the safety and security of our community, the victims, and the reintegration of the parolee who must adhere to parole conditions. I'd like to share some statistics that Parole Officer Fleming compiled for calendar years 2017 to 2020. This is a snapshot of the caseload 7 parole officers do for the board and their daily supervision. A total of 206 cases were presented to the board in 2017, with 41 granted and 102 paroled upon full-time release. It means they weren't presented to the board. They completed their sentence in DOC. For 230 for 2018, 41 granted and 59 full-time release. 224 for 2019, 31 granted and 38 full-time release. 231 for 2020 and 33 granted and 18 full-time release. Right now, there are currently 285 parolees. 260 are on island and 25 have either been deported or are off island. However, there are 328 inmates, 315 on island and 13 off island being presented at some point over the next year.
What do you mean you can't hear them?
What is most concerning is the limited rehabilitation or access to programs for these parolees and inmates. To highlight the top 3 areas of concern are 54 parolees with drug-related convictions, 53 of them with criminal sexual conduct convictions, and 33 with aggravated assault or assault convictions. Officer Fleming has the remaining numbers, but it's important to note that his report notes that many parolees have more than one criminal offense in their conviction, so the higher level of offense from the sentences was used for the data collection. To highlight the top 3 areas of pre-parole concern is 101 inmates to be presented have some sort of criminal sexual conduct conviction. 69 have murders, aggravated murder, manslaughter convictions, and 30 have had parole or probation revocations. Do you see the area of need? As a board, we clearly understand the need. Chairman Steve Guerrero and Board Member June Bora and I take our roles very seriously. It is why our collective knowledge and experience prepares us to perform the duties of the board. We are constantly looking for additional resources for our parolees, but there are serious shortages, most especially for our criminal sexual conduct parolees. It is my hope that the DOC Modernization Act of 2021 will include robust rehabilitation programs, also help those inmates successfully prison to society. Did you know that having a criminal sexual conduct conviction automatically makes someone ineligible for federally funded programs? It is no wonder why recidivism is high for these offenders. There is no access to programs to address their underlying issues or opportunities for change. I have witnessed a murderer who spent more than 20 years incarcerated enter into a training program at the American Job Center, but a low-level CSC cannot. How disappointing is that? Extremely. I believe there are 2 types of criminal sexual conduct offenders. One is when a bad decision is made, for example, usually because of age, teenagers in a relationship until one turns 18. And then the other is truly a predator. It has become most alarming since the pandemic. The numbers of arrests seem to be increasing. We must do more to not only prevent the offenses through education and awareness, but also provide real services for the offenders. I hope this information gives motivation to address the dire need for our offenders, but also the victims. In the end, I would like to continue to work with Mr. Guerrero, Ms. Bora, and Mr. Lizama to continue to help our parolees, Parole Services Division, and our community, our island community. The Parole Board is not a board that is appealing to others, but it is rewarding for me. It is a difficult board to sit on, but it is very rewarding when a parolee has successfully completed parole and becomes a model citizen, then gives back to our community. I wholeheartedly understand the complexities of ensuring the protection of our community and the concerns of victims that must be balanced with a comprehensive reentry program for those seeking parole. I will again take this appointment very seriously and intend to bring my education experience and desire for improving our community to each request for parole. I thank you, Madam Chairwoman and distinguished senators, members of the committee, for allowing me to speak. I can only say to you now that I will do my best to fulfill my role if you allow me to continue to be part of the Guam Parole Board. Thank you for this opportunity to submit my testimony, and I look forward to the legislative review and acceptance of my appointment as a member of the Guam Parole Board. Lina NB McDaniel.
Thank you very much, Ms. McDaniel. And I want to thank you for the obvious work that you put into your testimony and to also provide us with insight, not only to you, but to the board, its duties and suggestions for how we can help you to make it better. So I want to thank you for that sincerely. I'm going to now ask Mr. Guerrero if you would like to present testimony. If you could unmute yourself, you're welcome.
Yes, good morning. I can't see people on the screen, so I want to do my best just to kind of look at myself and do my just verbal testimony. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, and we can see you. And so you're doing great. Thank you.
All right. Well, good morning, Speaker. Good morning to all the other senators who are joining the platform this morning on behalf of Mrs. Lina McDaniel's confirmation for the Guam Parole Board. I'm just saying, you know, I've been on this parole board almost 3.5 years now, and as the chairman, almost going on 2 years. And it is an extremely very difficult board to serve on, probably the hardest board I've ever served on in my career in the government. Mrs. McDaniel has been very instrumental. She has brought a lot of her own personal experience, her education, and her own lifelong achievements in the area of, I believe, law enforcement and even social work to the board. She has been very instrumental in addressing some of the tough issues that come before this board, especially when it comes to dealing with the inmates when we do the face-to-face and their parole hearings. I just can't say enough of how she's very tough, very disciplined, but she's also very compassionate and very fair in making her judgment as these cases come before the Guam Parole Board. I personally have experienced her dealing with the inmates and the parolees in a very tough manner, which sometimes I find very, very surprising, simply because, you know, it takes a lot in a person to do the type of work that the Guam Parole Board members serve and provide the community. And like Miss McDaniel said, for the last almost 2.5 years, we've been actually trying. I've been working with the administration, especially Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, to try to find volunteers and members in the community to try to serve on this board. It's very tough, it's very demanding. At times, it's very challenging. And it's not a board that most people would want to serve on. I thank our latest nominee, Mr. John Lama, and of course, Ms. June Bora, who has been with the board about over 1.5 years now, and just trying to get this board going and providing the type of services that the government must provide to the community. But one of the most important things that we always keep in mind, and it's the foremost and frontmost thing that we always try to instill with these parolees as they come up with the parole hearings, is it is our job to keep the community safe. And we will do anything to make sure that that is done. So, you know, along with hopefully Mr. Lazama, who comes on board, I believe this month, it would be his first parole board hearing. Of course, Mrs. Boer, and if Lisa McDaniel, Ms. McDaniel is allowed to come back and is reappointed, we will continue to serve as we have done over the last several years. And with that, and one more thing, I must give kudos and a shout out to my parole board. I mean, my parole division of Department of Correction for their tireless, unwavering. I mean, their support to the Guam Parole Board. Gosh, I just can't speak enough of them. And of course, Chief Mike Kanata, his leadership, providing technical assistance, and his experience through the Guam Parole Board has been, gosh, at least personally for me, has been just overwhelming. And his knowledge, what he brings to the Guam Parole Board, I believe of his 36-year career in public safety, is just invaluable. And with that, Speaker, I just want to hope and thank again the legislature and your committee to allow Ms. McDaniel again the opportunity to serve on the Guam Parole Board, and that we will do our best collectively to continue serving the community of Guam. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair Guerrero of the Guam Parole Board. I really appreciate you being here this morning and providing testimony as well. I know that the Parole Board faces many challenges, including members, ensuring that you have enough members. So thank you for your service. We're going to go now to the Chief Parole Officer, Michael Kanata. Mr. Kanata, would you like to present testimony this morning? If so, can you please unmute? Can you, press the unmute?
I'm here in California, but I just want to make sure I appear to testify that, to reconfirm Miss Lina. She, the board, the history on the board. So they always do what they can do to make that quorum, because there's only 3 of them. Now there's 4, would make matters better. And just to support her and getting reconfirmed. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the kudos. But, without you coming and having a quorum, then we won't have anything to do to prepare. So it works all the way around. What you do coming to the board requires us to do our work. And parole officers, they're good officers, and we will adapt to whatever and overcome our challenges. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chief Kanata. You have overcome many challenges, your whole division, and I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for continuing to support this board in this very difficult work. The work is difficult for you as well, I know that, but I want to thank you because Ms. McDaniel provided us a brief synopsis of the number of cases that you are having to deal with, and the tough issues that all of you are dealing with collectively. And I like the teamwork that I am seeing. I really appreciate that. And I want to thank you for that. I'm going to now ask if you can hold on. We'll ask, I'm going to go to Senator Taitakui and see if she has any questions for the panel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Hafide, good morning, Lina. Thank you so much for stepping up to the plate once again. I wanted to make it a point to be here at your confirmation hearing and to let you know that, it's important. This position that you are seeking to sit on once again is, I'm so grateful that you want to take on this position. I've seen your background. It's amazing. You have so much to offer, everything from Homeless Coalition that you've been a part of, the Seroptimus, Treasury. You've worked with Department of Labor. There's so many things that you have under your belt that would give you, just the know-how and the understanding of an individual and what it takes to go back into the community. That's what's most important. I'm just in awe of anyone who wants to sit on this board. Steve said it clearly, and every time I see Steve at the legislature, I'm just like, thank you. I'm just in awe of you sitting on this board and taking care of this very, it's unsafe technically. Most people won't take this position because of the safety issue for themselves and their family. And but you're stepping up to the plate is amazing. And my office is open to you anytime you need any kind of assistance at all that I can do I know you've incorporated in your testimony a wealth of information that I didn't know. And I was writing down the numbers. This is so, such an eye opener to understand this. The mentioning of the sexual, offenders, that I didn't realize too, on the federal grants. If it means that we need to do something on the local level, to assist those and with programs, then you just brought that to light right now. And I know it's important that everything you do is done correctly and thorough. And it shows in your testimony that you are very thorough. And I greatly appreciate it. But again, I'm in awe of you wanting to serve and very grateful, very grateful. Thank you so much. You definitely have my support, Lina. God bless you and the family. And please, please be safe. Si Diyos masi.
Thank you, Senator. Chair, may I add something?
Sure, please.
So I didn't want to put it in writing in my testimony, but there is, over the past, I'd say, year, the commitment to doing something more for our parolees or inmates coming out on parole, or even those that are being revoked, has increased. And it's increased because I recently became a licensed foster parent. So I have had 4 placements, and so the first placement is actually back with me, and I've had her for going on 7 months now. And it's important to know that to bring that too, so when parents who are going through those challenges too, like, I understand what they're doing, but I also then come back with what Chair says, a heavy hand, because I'm having to take up where their selfishness basically is at, because they chose either to commit a crime or their drugs, and then leaving their children in the mercy of and custody of CPS. So, I really believe that, that people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. And so that's why it's important for me to bring that to the table as to why I would like to continue being on the board, because I do know those struggles of being a single parent, and then what do you do when you're not working? But this is also not my child, but I'm going to give her all of the life experiences that's going to be the best thing for her, so that then she can be reunified with her parents. So that's, something that I've started to do, but I did not want to put in writing as to why I would still like to be on the board.
Thank you very much, Ms. McDaniel. It's very timely that you shared that part as well, because this morning we're also going to be having a hearing. What I'm trying to do is shed light on what it takes to be a foster parent, and how what resources the government might be able to provide to help people who want to be foster parents, and recognize the great need we have today for foster parents. I want to thank you for that. And you're making me all emotional here because we really are blessed, as Senator Taitigui said, to have someone with a background like yours who's willing to continue to do this type of work, to see the big picture, to see people as a whole, right? And to work with the justice system that we have. So our system has certain philosophies behind it, and not everyone, will commit to those philosophies. But in order for it to work, we have to commit to those and give it our best. And we have to believe that certain members of our society who commit crimes can and should be rehabilitated and become functioning members again of our society. And we should be able to protect our society by doing that. But when we cannot protect them, then we have to, recognize that, and we have to look for other ways, or we just have to protect them. And that was one of the issues that we've discussed over the recent years regarding criminal sexual conduct cases, right? So the parole board has come under lots of heat for releasing offenders, particularly criminal sexual conduct, who then recommit, right? And we've tried to ask that additional resources be placed for assessments. And I'm hoping that John Lizama, Chief Lizama, is also an expert in assessments with his experience at the courts, and that he can bring that up to full speed for this board. Assessments of that type of crime and those types of individuals, and the ability of our system to rehabilitate them, and also the assessment of the risk to the community of reoffense, of course. And so I wanted to ask you, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions for the record. Thank you again for bringing all your experience. I couldn't ask for more, that you have this experience with the Department of Labor, with the Homeless Coalition. It's very, very important that we know the full gamut, the full range of lives on Guam, and that we see results, we see consequences, and we see what our system can provide. And I know that you have been the leader of the Homeless Coalition, not just a member of it. And as a leader, I know that you're very familiar with what the system, on what we have available on Guam and what we do not. And so I know it's a lot of work. It's a heavy burden, all of you that you are under. Do you have any continuing business or other interests that may be a conflict with you performing your duties as a member of the Guam Parole Board?
No, I'm not at this time. I'm not working.
Are you able to meet quorum to continue to make the meetings and meet the quorum? And I know you guys put in a heavy time, a lot of time into this board.
Yes, I have no problem with ensuring we meet quorum.
You talked already about, how you plan to contribute to improve the services of the board, how we can improve the chances of successful integration of a parolee back into the community. Thank you again for your work and your testimony. I really appreciate that. And I wanted to ask you, what is the status of the board's use of risk assessment tools as part of the review of eligibility for parole, especially for criminal sexual conduct offenders?
Unfortunately, right now, the assessments have been bottlenecked. I can say we request them, but it's somehow, I don't know if it's a hot potato up at DOC who's supposed to do it. And Chair Guerrero has been working very closely with Chief Kanata to try to ascertain who's supposed to do it up at DOC. So there are several of our pre-parolees who are waiting to be presented to the board or a decision on their parole, because we're waiting for an assessment. So they've been tabled, and some of them have been tabled for months. We recently received one assessment, but it was so incomplete that we could not, as a board, make a sound decision to grant this person parole because there were components that were missing. Now, it's supposed to be done up at DOC because they're incarcerated. They're still incarcerated. Our parole officers do their assessment afterwards, where they're out free. So it's not, the onus is not on our parole officers. The assessment has to be done at DOC. Who does it at DOC? I'm not sure.
All right. Well, thank you for that. We'll try to delve into that as well.
Thank you.
There was written testimony submitted on your behalf in favor of your appointment by Josette Kanata, Leilani Lujan, and Brianna Kotke. So I want to thank them for their testimony as well. Senator Taitui, did you have any additional questions?
No, thank you so much, Madam Chair. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. And so Ms. McDaniel, did you want to add anything else before we conclude?
No, I hope that what I maybe only that what I shared with my background as being a licensed foster parent is you know, taken into consideration when you're in the discussions in your next hearings or public hearings with your bills, because there is a great need. There's over 500 kids in foster care, and I think only 43 parents or licensed foster homes. So, you know, I, as a licensed foster parent, will totally support your efforts. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being now bringing the parent perspective as well to this board. Very important. So, Sidus Masi. There being no individuals to present further testimony, this committee will continue to remain open for the next 10 working days following the hearing for acceptance of any additional public testimony. You may submit testimonies to my office at the Guam Legislature in the Guam Congress building or through email at senatorterlajeguam@gmail.com. This public hearing is now adjourned. It's 8:38 a.m. and Sidus Masi again to all of those who were with us this morning.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you.